The Iron Limper. How a crippled shepherd became history's most terrifying conqueror in the dusty chronicles of Central Asian history. No figure looms larger or casts a darker shadow than Timur the Lame, known to the world as Tamerlane. This is the story of how a sheep-stealing outlaw with a permanent limp built an empire that stretched from the gates of Moscow to the heart of India, leaving pyramids of human skulls as his calling card. The making of a monster. Born in 1336 near Samarkand, Timur entered the world during one of history's most chaotic periods. The mighty Mongol Empire of Genghis Khan had fractured into competing khanates, leaving Central Asia a lawless frontier where only the ruthless survived. Young Timur's early life reads like a medieval crime novel. He began as a sheep rustler, leading raids across the steppes with a band of fellow outlaws. But fate had marked him for something far greater and more terrible. The defining moment came during a skirmish in his 20s, when arrows pierced his right leg and arm, leaving him permanently disabled. His enemies mocked him as Timur the Lame. They had no idea they were christening the man who would make their descendants tremble at the mere mention of his name. The injury that should have ended his warrior's career instead forged an iron will that would reshape continents. The chessmaster's rise. What separated Tamerlane from countless other Central Asian warlords wasn't just his military genius, it was his psychological cunning. Like a grandmaster playing chess on a continental board, he understood that true power came not from brute force alone, but from manipulating the fears and ambitions of others. In the 1360s, as rival Mongol Khans tore each other apart, Timur played them against one another with masterful precision. He would ally with one faction to destroy another, then eliminate his former allies when they had outlived their usefulness. By 1370, this limping puppet master had maneuvered himself onto the throne of the Chagatai Khanate, claiming descent from Genghis Khan through marriage, a brilliant political fiction that legitimized his rule. But Timur's ambitions stretched far beyond the steps of his birth. The architect of terror. Here's where Tamerlane's story takes a chilling turn that would make Machiavelli himself recoil. Unlike Genghis Khan, who offered enemies a choice between submission and destruction, Tamerlane refined terror into an art form. He didn't just conquer cities, he erased them from existence, leaving behind monuments to human suffering that would haunt the medieval world for centuries. His siege of Isfahan in 1387 provides a glimpse into his methodology. After the city surrendered, its inhabitants murdered the tax collectors Timur had left behind. His response was swift and apocalyptic. He ordered his soldiers to bring him the severed head of every man, woman, and child in the city. When his troops hesitated at slaughtering innocents, Timur allegedly declared that even newborns had hostile intentions. The resulting massacre yielded 70,000 heads, which his engineers arranged into towering pyramids that could be seen for miles. This wasn't random brutality, it was calculated psychological warfare. Word of Isfahan's fate spread like wildfire across trade routes, and soon entire regions would surrender without resistance rather than face Timur's wrath. The unstoppable war machine between 1380 and 1404, Tamerlane's armies carved a path of destruction across 3 continents that defied all military logic. His secret was unsuperior numbers. His core force rarely exceeded 100,000 men, but rather a revolutionary approach to medieval warfare that combined Mongol mobility with Islamic administrative sophistication. Timur's cavalry could cover impossible distances at shocking speed, appearing where enemies least expected them. His intelligence network rivaled that of modern spy agencies, feeding him detailed information about enemy movements, political divisions, and economic vulnerabilities. Most importantly, he understood logistics in an age when most commanders starved their own armies into defeat. The numbers tell a staggering story. In 1398, he shattered the Delhi Sultanate, reportedly slaughtering 100,000 prisoners in a single day before Delhi's walls. The paradox of destruction and creation. Here's where Tamerlane's legacy becomes truly fascinating. This destroyer of civilizations was simultaneously one of history's greatest patrons of art and learning. While his armies left cities in ruins, his capital of Samarkand became the Renaissance Florence of Central Asia. Timur populated his city with the greatest architects, scholars, artists, and craftsmen forcibly relocated from conquered territories. The result was an extraordinary cultural fusion. Persian poets worked alongside Chinese artisans. Indian mathematicians collaborated with Arab astronomers. and European prisoners of war contributed their technical knowledge to magnificent construction projects. The architectural marvels he commissioned, including the breathtaking Registan complex, still draw visitors to Uzbekistan today. His court became a center of learning where the works of Aristotle were debated in the same halls where Chinese silk-making techniques were being perfected. This cultural flowering occurred even as Timur's armies continued their campaigns of extermination across 3 continents. The final campaign that never was, by 1404, at age 68, the limping conqueror had achieved the impossible dream of every Central Asian warlord. He had rebuilt the Mongol Empire. His dominions stretched from the Mediterranean to the borders of China, encompassing modern-day Iran, Iraq, Afghanistan, Pakistan, and much of India, Turkey, and southern Russia. But Timur wasn't finished. His final target was the Ming dynasty of China, a campaign that would have pitted the world's 2 greatest military powers against each other, in what could have been history's most epic confrontation. Contemporary Chinese sources reveal that the Ming emperor was preparing massive defenses, mobilizing armies of unprecedented size to meet this legendary threat from the west. The showdown never happened. In February 1405, while wintering in Otrar in modern Kazakhstan, Tamerlane fell ill and died. Some historians suggest poison. Others point to natural causes exacerbated by decades of campaigning. What's certain is that his death prevented what might have been the bloodiest war in pre-modern history. Legacy of the Iron Limper Tamerlane's empire died with him, fragmenting among his quarreling descendants within decades. Yet his impact on world history proved far more durable than his political creation. His devastation of the Middle East's irrigation systems contributed to the region's economic decline that lasted for centuries. His defeat of the Ottomans at Ankara delayed their conquest of Europe by 50 years, arguably saving the Byzantine Empire and altering the course of the Renaissance. More intriguingly, one of his descendants would found India's Mughal Empire. Yes, the same dynasty that built the Taj Mahal descended from this architect of terror. Babur, the Mughal founder, carried Timur's strategic genius without his grandfather's taste for mass slaughter, channeling the family's military talents into creating one of history's most magnificent civilizations. The shepherd boy who became the Iron Limper had proven that in an age of chaos, a single individual's will could reshape continents. Whether that makes him history's greatest conqueror or its most successful monster remains a question that haunts us still. Perhaps, in Tamerlane's case, the answer is both.